In 1940, the Nazis created the largest Jewish ghetto in Nazi-occupied Europe, right in the heart of Warsaw, Poland. They sealed over 400,000 Jews inside just 1.3 square miles of crumbling city blocks. Walls rose overnight, barbed wire, armed guards, no way out. It wasn't just a neighborhood, it was a trap, a prison designed to break spirits without firing a shot. Families of 10 shared single rooms, sewage ran in the streets. Epidemics swept through alleys while children scavenged trash for crumbs. The Warsaw Ghetto wasn't a holding zone. It was the beginning of a slow, engineered extinction. What if you were born there? What if your world shrank to the size of a wall, and that wall never came down? The Warsaw Ghetto wasn't designed to hold life. It was designed to end it. Over 400,000 Jews were crammed into a space meant for 30,000 people. That's 7 people per room, if you were lucky. The walls weren't just concrete, they were rules. No medicine, no education, no newspapers, no books, no rights. Food rations were calculated to kill slowly. 181 calories per day per Jew. That's 1/5 of what a normal adult needs to survive. Disease wasn't a tragedy, it was policy. The Nazis let typhus spread freely. The ghetto became a laboratory for despair. But people still resisted, with stolen pencils, hidden schools, underground theaters. Because even in a cage built to erase you, memory, culture, and spirit fought to live on. By April 1943, the ghetto had become a prison of ash and silence. But behind the boarded windows and broken walls, a storm was building. The Nazis planned the final liquidation. But the people of the ghetto had a final answer. With homemade Molotovs, smuggled pistols, and even sharpened spoons, resistance fighters rose from the ashes. They knew they couldn't win. But that wasn't the point. For almost a month, they held the German army in combat, street by street, wall by wall, room by room. Fighters emerged from bunkers, flung fire from windows, and vanished into sewers. Entire buildings were set ablaze, not by rebels, but by German flamethrowers. The uprising didn't die in silence. It roared so that the world might hear, even if only too late. This was the largest Jewish revolt during the Holocaust, and its message was simple: we will not go quietly into dust. Outside the ghetto walls, Warsaw heard everything. The gunfire, the flames, the children's cries. From apartment balconies and cracked window panes, ordinary Poles stared across the invisible border. Some were horrified, some turned away. Others whispered prayers, or dared not speak at all. In the Aryan side of the city, cafes remained open, streetcars still ran. But above it all, the smoke. Towering, black, unmissable. There were those who risked everything to smuggle bread through sewer grates, to offer water through cracks in the wall. Others reported them. The world outside the ghetto was not ignorant. It was paralyzed or complicit, and in that silence, history took one more step toward the abyss. This was not just the burning of buildings, it was the burning of the human conscience. In the Warsaw Ghetto, food was never just scarce. It was a weapon, sharpened by policy and wielded by power. The daily German ration for Jews was set at just 184 calories, less than a quarter of what a child needs to survive. Meanwhile, German citizens outside received over 2,000. Children sucked on stones to simulate chewing. Mothers fed their babies warm water in place of milk. People dug through trash, traded family heirlooms for crumbs, and scraped at walls for salt. But this starvation was not accidental. It was designed to weaken, humiliate, and eliminate. A body slowly devours itself when deprived of calories, but dignity dies first. And still, in this place of shadows, the human spirit flickered. Women formed soup kitchens from nothing. Secret bakeries emerged beneath the floors, and children, small and fearless, crawled through sewer grates to find scraps, risking execution to bring home a crust. In Warsaw, hunger became not just pain, but defiance. In the Warsaw Ghetto, death didn't come with warning. It arrived silently, with the sound of boots or none at all. People vanished. Entire families disappeared overnight. The Germans called it resettlement, but everyone knew the trains led to one place, Treblinka. There were no trials, no defenses, just selections. If you were too old to work, too young to be useful, or simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, your life was over. Parents hid children in false walls. Families slept fully dressed, shoes on, ready to run. Every footstep outside meant a potential goodbye. People began to avoid eye contact, afraid that even being remembered could lead to betrayal. And yet, even here, resistance grew. Secret schools, underground presses, coded messages passed in bread, but hope was always hunted. And in the ghetto, you didn't live by the day, you lived by the minute. It happened on April 19th, 1943, the eve of Passover. Nazi troops entered the Warsaw Ghetto for what they thought would be a quick and final deportation. But this time, they were met with bullets. The Jewish Combat Organization, barely armed and barely trained, struck back. From windows, from sewers, from rooftops, they had homemade grenades, a few pistols, and nothing left to lose. For nearly a month, they held off one of the most brutal militaries in history. The ghetto burned, street by street. People fought in flames rather than walk into gas chambers. A resistance that knew it could not win, but chose to fight anyway. This was not just a battle for survival. It was a message to the world, to the future. We were here. We fought. We did not go quietly into death. The uprising ended in flames, but not everyone perished in the ashes. Some escaped through sewer tunnels. Others were hidden by brave Polish families, and a few, just a few, lived to speak of it. Their testimonies would go on to shape our understanding of what happened in the Warsaw Ghetto. "We fought because we had to," said Marek Edelman, one of the leaders. "Not to win, but to choose how we would die." They remembered the songs sung in cellars, the quiet bravery of those who shared their last piece of bread, and they remembered the silence. The silence of a city that watched and sometimes helped, but often turned away. The survivors didn't ask to be heroes, but they carried the memories of the 6 million in every speech, in every book, in every tear. They looked into the eyes of a new world and begged it not to forget. So today, we do not just remember statistics, we remember faces, because in their eyes, we see the cost of indifference and the fragile thread of hope that somehow endured. The Warsaw Ghetto wasn't just a prison. It was a graveyard of hope, built by cruelty, sustained by silence, and ended in smoke. But amid the hunger, the fire, and the endless death were those who chose to rise with conviction, who chose to fight not for survival, but for dignity. Their uprising was not a battle they expected to win. With anguish, it was a scream hurled at a world that turned its face away. Today, their shadows walk among us, not as ghosts, powerfully, but as the final proof that even in history's darkest corners, the human spirit does not surrender.